guys, thanks for tuning in for the third episode of the Flight Simulator Experience Show here on the Cessna154 channel. I would first like to thank you all for the great support and feedback on the first two episodes. It seems that the viewers really like this new episode format of video production, and I'm going to stick with the episode format from now on. It seems to work best for this type of content. The first segment of this episode features a long flight between Logan International Airport in Boston to London Heathrow Airport. The airport code for Boston is Kilo Bravo Oscar Sierra, and London Heathrow's airport code is Echo Golf Lima Lima. Now, I'm using the Captain Sim Boeing 767 aircraft that I've been featuring in the previous episodes. You guys seem to like the features of paper aircraft, so I hope to continue that in the future. Now, I'm still testing out this aircraft and discovering both positive and negative aspects of the aircraft that I will be sure to present in future episodes. This flight segment between Boston and London Heathrow Airport is actually part of a previous project I started here on the channel a few months ago titled the Around the World Flight Project. And in future episodes, I hope to bring back this project more frequently and make it a more continuous segment in the episodes, so stay tuned for more of that. I chose to use an American Airlines Boeing 767 for this flight because the real American Airlines actually flies this route, so I thought that would bring a little more realism to this flying experience. After departing Boston, the aircraft will spend a large amount of flying time over the open waters of the Atlantic Ocean. You might see land in the distance, but for the large majority of the flight, you're over the open waters of the Atlantic. The aircraft continues its flight across the Atlantic, and I'd like to take a moment to just let you guys know that if you want to request a certain segment to be seen in a future episode of the Flight Simulator Experience, please post that in the comments section and make it as detailed as possible. Captain Sim also developed the interior cabin of the Boeing 767 aircraft. Some viewers who are watching this right now might find this point interesting. Others, like myself, don't really see the point of creating an interior cabin. I guess if you're someone who wants to add more realism to your flying experience, then this is something that you might like. For others, you just don't really see the point of creating such a massive interior cabin and having that be part of the aircraft. But regardless, it's there if you want to check it out. There's a lot of different views, and you can cycle through the predetermined views of the interiors and really just get a good feel of what the realistic passenger seating area looks like, as well as different parts of the aircraft. This Boeing 767 is now on approach for landing at London Heathrow International Airport. The aircraft should be on the ground momentarily. This flight between Boston and London Heathrow International Airport is almost complete now. Thank you for watching this first segment of episode 3. I hope you continue to watch the rest of the episode. And remember that this type of segment, featuring the Around the World Flight Project, will continue in future segments. Flying a helicopter in Flight Simulator seems to be a difficult skill for a lot of viewers to learn, so today I want to spend some time teaching you guys a few basic techniques and discussing a few tips that can definitely help the beginners out there learn how to fly the default helicopters in Flight Simulator. The first topic I want to cover in this segment, though, relates to the realism of the default helicopters. There really isn't too much realism. People have created videos on YouTube showing some glitches and errors with the flying dynamics, and I completely agree that the default helicopters really aren't that great. There are payware helicopters out there that do far better, but for this video I want to just cover some techniques and tips that can help a beginner learn how to fly a helicopter in Flight Simulator. Now, I find it best to learn how to hover first. Hovering really isn't too difficult. You just apply a little bit of power to the helicopter lifts off the ground, and then you maintain that hover by using different amounts of power just to make sure the aircraft does not fall back towards the ground, as basic as that sounds. You can sway the aircraft left and right by using the control. It's really easier to fly a helicopter when you have a joystick. Joysticks often mimic the controls of helicopters much more realistically than a yoke will. When you're ready to take the helicopter out for a flight, apply a little bit more power to the helicopter and push forward on the stick. Now, like I mentioned in previous techniques and tips videos for aircraft, fixed-wing aircraft, with the helicopter it's the same thing. You want to apply just a little bit of forward pressure on the stick. You don't need to be too overpowered with it. If you push forward too far, you're going to pretty much force the helicopter to go right into the ground, or you could damage it in other ways. It is a little bit sensitive. Different helicopters have different sensitivity at the controls. You'll learn what works best after getting a few hours of flight time. When it comes to landing a helicopter in Flight Simulator, a lot of beginners will find it very difficult for usually two reasons. First, as I mentioned earlier, their controls that they are using are not really too great for landing helicopters or just flying helicopters in general. And two, some beginners out there just don't understand some basic techniques that you can use to land a helicopter. So I've found what works best is to pick a landing zone and bring the helicopter in at a consistent descent rate and at a slower speed, and then once you do reach the touchdown zone, hover the helicopter for a moment and establish a hover that allows you to slowly drop the helicopter down onto the touchdown zone. Now this just allows you to have a much more controlled descent towards the pavement or whatever type of landing surface you're on. A new segment to the Flight Simulator Experience Show is a segment that will be called the Viewer Challenge. Now, it's not really me challenging the viewer, it's more of you guys, the viewers, challenging me. Over the past several weeks and months, I've received many requests for different types of scenarios and situations to be presented in a video, and these requests are often a bit unique or strange and often involve different types of failures or unique landing or takeoff situations. Now for this video, a viewer requested that I select this aircraft, the twin prop, a Baron, and go on a typical takeoff, except after departure, cut the fuel flow to one of the engines. Very simple. So on the upper left hand side of the screen you see the power controls as well as the fuel controls, and after departure I'm simply going to cut off the fuel flow to the left engine, and the challenge then of course is to be able to land the aircraft safely back at this airport. A few different variables you want to keep in mind. There is currently no winds at this airport. The aircraft has a full fuel load, so it's pretty heavy right now, and it's definitely at its maximum takeoff weight. As you see here, the aircraft has just lost power to the left engine, and just after that loss of power, the aircraft does begin to turn to the left. That's because the right engine is overpowering the left engine at this point, and the aircraft will begin pretty much a wide turn just on its own. The challenges presented in this scenario are pretty basic and straightforward. Obviously, we've lost one engine. The aircraft is pretty heavy to begin with, and I'm not too confident in the aircraft's ability to maintain altitude and speed with this type of flying configuration. So my best option is to turn back towards the airport as quickly as possible without losing control of the aircraft. Now, I need to make sure I don't stall out or hit any of the trees. I've also decided to not increase the altitude of the aircraft at this point. The runway is not too far away, and the aircraft is not really able to maintain a speed that is suitable for climbing, especially with this type of flying configuration. So at this point, we're just going to try to maintain altitude, maintain a speed that allows us to fly the aircraft and not stall out, and also prepare the aircraft for landing. Luckily, there is a runway that is somewhat perpendicular to the runway that we took off on, and because the left engine was cut, the fuel flow was cut to that engine, the aircraft naturally made a wide left turn, and so we're able to bring the aircraft right back into the airport for hopefully a safe landing. Some other options for landing if you had this type of scenario would be to fly a pattern around the airport. Now, because the aircraft is only on one engine and is heavy, I didn't feel confident in doing that, and also my speeds are rather low. Also, you could try to take the aircraft up to a higher altitude and then try to restart the engine, but in this case I went with just a complete engine failure with a simple fuel cut, and then decided to bring the aircraft back in for landing. Thank you for watching episode 3 of the Flight Simulator Experience. I'll see you guys on Tuesday for episode number 4. Thanks.